And if he gets in that bus lane, you know, that's a good and a bad. I mean, the good would be there's no other vehicles there. The bad would be that it is a bus lane, and you just don't want to see any, you know, again, you just don't want to see this driver collide with a bus now. So basically just kind of sitting there in traffic. He is kind of blending in. You know, again, you just don't want to see this driver. We saw earlier on when somebody tried to stop him that he was not having any of that. So LAPD, the helicopter, definitely still there. They're definitely making those calls. How to bring this thing to a stop without the driver making that decision. Very difficult this morning for sure. The decision right now, keep an eye on it and see where it goes.
I mean, thankfully, it does seem like he's sticking to the main roads at the very least.
He hasn't jumped on a freeway either.
No, he hasn't. But he's been sticking to, like, the wide lanes, you know?
Definitely the wide lanes. He does drift. You know, I saw earlier on him looking out the window, and it looked like he almost hit the curb. Right now, he's straddling those lanes. So, you know, is he being cautious or what's going on? Don't really know. But, you know, what we do know is we just want this thing to come to an end. I can't say that enough. Right now, though, the street's wide open. Looks like we are catching a green light right there, which is a huge plus. Victory Boulevard, I'd venture to say we're over by Valley College. No, it's not Valley College. It's Pierce College. There we go. Grew up in the Valley, but I've got a little brain fart there. But definitely right by Pierce College and making our way on Victory Boulevard. So we're going to be leaving the Woodland Hills area. We're getting into Winnetka. This is kind of the area where it started. It started over by the Northridge Mall, up off of Devonshire. So maybe he's making his way back that way. Gosh only knows. We'll keep an eye on it best we can.
Yeah, so per the Atomic Concrete Pumping Company, we spoke to the owner, and we were told that this morning when one of the members who works for this company was pumping gas at the gas station, apparently the door was open, the keys were there, and this individual jumped in and since then has taken this vehicle in circles. So, yes, it was definitely a crime of opportunity. It doesn't seem like this individual has anything to do with this company, which is what we were a bit confused about this morning. So that was cleared up. So at this point, we're just watching and waiting. We're waiting to see when police will take a more aggressive approach. So far, they've been in this tracking mode for a majority of this pursuit. Couple spike strip attempts were attempted and they failed and they were not successful. But for the most part, they've just been tracking this individual from up in the air. A few times they got close behind him and a few police cruisers, but then they pulled back. So we're just watching and waiting. And so far, for the most part, he's stopping. He's going when he's supposed to. We saw one incident where he was aggressive with a car that was in front of him and basically hit it, smashed the entire back of that car. Not with great force, but this is such a big, heavy vehicle that it doesn't take much to do damage. So here we go, still in the same area, staying in the same vicinity where this vehicle was stolen a couple hours ago.
In the meantime, we've seen a number of civilians who've been trying to intervene, talk to him, whether it's he's asking for directions, whether it's, you know, talking him down. We saw one woman after that initial crash, she almost got involved, was speeding up beside him, waving her hands around. It seemed like she was, you know, asking him what the heck he was doing there. But since then, it kind of seems like everyone's backed off in a way.
Yeah, everybody's backed off, and they've given this gentleman room, and that's what they want to do. Hopefully that'll calm his mood. Maybe he'll make some good decisions, pull this thing over, bring this thing to a stop. Just giving the viewers heads up as well that we might be having to go in for fuel shortly if this doesn't come to an end. And then, but we are close to Van Nuys, and hopefully when we're getting fuel, nobody jumps into Skyfox and takes it for a spin. I don't think that's going to happen, just being a little facetious there. But as we keep an eye on it, and you can see he's kind of not popping out from behind the trees right there. But we've been seeing him drive really slow, but the LAPD helicopter here as well, and wonder if he just came to another kind of slow meandering stop right there. We might have to move Sky Fox around, because the last time we saw him was as he made his way over there, and I'm watching cars popping back around, so kind of wonder if he just came to another weird stop behind the trees. We've seen that happen a couple of times. Hopefully he didn't get out and run, because we would have missed that. But LAPD would have been calling that out as well. But it looks like there he is. There he is. And again, just kind of making that, maybe he's trying to make a turn. Maybe he's just a lot of indecision this morning. A lot of indecision. You know, he made some bad decisions earlier. Maybe he's just double checking all his thoughts right now.
Yeah, we mentioned this, the fact that, you know, this vehicle was in the process of getting refilled with fuel when it was stolen. And, you know, Jen, you made the point that we don't know where the process was when this happened.
How much gas was in the tank?
Did they just start filling up the tank, or were they at the end of filling up the tank? How much gas is in there? Maybe he'll come to a stop without his choosing to, because he'll run out of gas. We really don't know at this point.
Oh, it looks like he's going to try to make a U-turn or pull into a parking lot. Let's take a look there. Oh, he's at the Winnetka Bowl. So we'll see what happens here. I don't know if he's trying to make his way into that parking lot. I got a lot of folks just walking around. I'm sure I have a feeling they don't have anything to do with this. I just was worried that, you know, somebody might be crossing the road. But he's been moving so very slowly that I hope he definitely would not hit anybody. Making his way into the Winnetka Bowl, or not. There we go. And continuing in, another large parking lot. We've seen him in a couple of these already. Just basically drives in, drives out. But maybe this time something will be different. Maybe this is where he's going to just park it and maybe bowl a couple of games before the law enforcement come and put those cuffs on him. We'll find out here in just a moment.
See, this is what I'm wondering. The fact that he pulled into this giant parking lot, why at this point seems like an ideal time for law enforcement to swarm into this lot, right? Because it seems safest. He's no longer on the road.
Yeah, well, you know, it's the same. It's that same deal. You know, if they put vehicles in front of him, then they block him in. That sets up a situation where the suspect might become aggressive or feels like he's boxed in, makes another bad decision, and then you know, somebody's going to get hurt, be it a law enforcement, be it that suspect. And in our LAPD, very, very proactive, very concerned, and been listening to the community for so long. And all their policies have been set up for safety. Safety for the officers, safety for the public, and safety for the suspects as well. So they're not going to make a situation where they're going to block this person in and and force his hand, as it would be, out of one parking lot into another, and still very slow moving out here. What's he looking for? I just don't know. I'm hoping it's not a friend of his or somebody where he's going to get out of this truck and get into another vehicle, and then it's just going to change that whole dynamic.
That's why. I mean, it's, again, you know, it's easy to judge from where we're sitting, but when you're in an empty parking lot with nobody walking around, to minimize that threat of him jumping into a different car or then getting back on the road and doing damage to innocent bystanders, I would think that officers would seize that opportunity, so to speak, and try to apprehend them if they could when he's in parking lots like this.
He keeps looking around, you know. I don't know if it just, it's just his demeanor or a habit or what, but it just seems like he's looking for someone or something.
Well, I think what it is it's our angle, but it looks like he's just looking in that rearview mirror. He just keeps looking in that rearview mirror. He probably knows that LAPD is around, and you know, the reality is right now there isn't. There is nobody on the ground anywhere near him. And if he's just going to park it and jump out and try to run and hide, you know, this would be a great place. Right here would be a great place. Let's just bring this to an end. But again, you know, the helicopter is above. They do want to put cuffs on this guy. They definitely want to get him the help that he might need. Clearly, there's something going on in that person's mind this morning, and just kind of sitting here. And at least it's a red light, but you can see It's not a red light.
It's not a red light. Yeah,
he's just stopped.
It's, right. So
he's stopped.
He's now blocking however many cars behind him. They have no idea what to do.
It's interesting that the lane next to him, they've stopped as well. Like they're not even trying to go around it.
Yeah, because he was kind of like half in, half out of the lane right there. But yeah, see, that's again too. It's one of those things. It's hot. People might already be agitated this morning. You just don't want to start laying on the horn or getting into some sort of conflict with somebody on the road. And it turns out to be this guy, and he has no regard for anything. You just smash it into your car. It's just another reason why just stay calm and just try to do the right thing, get out of other people's way, and if something weird is happening, proceed with caution and try to keep your opinions to yourself until you're very clear of that situation. Right now, though, back on Winnetka. We were on Winnetka very earlier on when we were still, Skyfox was making its way over here when this pursuit started, probably over 30 minutes ago. Is that even possible? And again, another street, and you can see the LAPD helicopter. It's I would say that's a green light.
Is it? Yeah, because
yeah.
Well, then you also have a van next to him that's stopped.
Yeah, I think he wants to make a left turn. The van wants to make a left turn. But yeah, and he just kind of is stopping at the green lights. I don't think that's going to get you any points. But right now, just kind of slow moving on Winnetka Boulevard. And traffic definitely starting to build. The valley definitely waking up. People are getting on the roads. Hopefully nobody gets in this person's way.
Yeah, we were talking about, what he is driving right now. It's a very expensive truck with the equipment. This isn't a game. This is an expensive piece of machinery and equipment, and it could do a lot of damage. It's secured tightly, of course. It's not going to come apart unless he was driving recklessly. But this is something you don't want to mess with because it will do a lot of damage.
Definitely, and we saw that damage that this thing can do, and that was very slow speeds, just smashing that little blue car as it tried to block that truck in earlier on this morning, and I believe that was on Sherman Way, and he just pushed it out of the way and just continued to push it out of the way. Very little damage to that truck itself, but that blue car sustained a lot of damage, and that's kind of the warning that I have for anybody that's down there or might get anywhere near this truck is if you see this morning or you're out just getting out the door and you're in the valley and you come across this, try not, just avoid it the best you can. And even though he's moving very, very slowly, that truck can do a lot of damage. Again, just kind of stopping in the middle of the road, and you just kind of wonder, is he looking around? What's he looking for? And if it is for a place to park and just get out and run, you've got plenty of spots. Anywhere is good. Just leave the truck and just go.
He's got to update his Waze app. I mean, if he's relying on that, he just tossed something out the window. Do we know what that is?
That was a drink that he's been drinking for pretty much the whole time.
Oh, now tack on littering to the offenses.
Yep. Tack on littering. Nobody likes a litter bug, buddy. So, anyways, but again, stopping at another major intersection, Sherman Way and Oso, and just very slow moving this morning. A lot of folks out here unaware of what's going on, but thank goodness not an aggressive driver, but again, stolen vehicle, and you just want this to stop.
And it's getting busier, as we see now. It's 8:23 here, and you see more pedestrians crossing the street. You see much more volume on the road. So it's getting busier, and it's going to become much more challenging versus just an hour ago when the road seemed a bit more wide open.
Definitely, and I would venture to say that they probably just finished fueling it as this truck just continues to drive along out there, a little slow on the go, and that's not a problem. Just don't rush. That's the only thing I can say right now. Back onto Sherman Way, we were here earlier on, and Oso was a street that we passed earlier. I think we're coming back up to that actual intersection where he crashed into that little blue car. I hope, or I just kind of wonder if he's has moved that vehicle out of the way, or they're still over there with officers, because he might be driving right back by where all this, where we saw this almost come to the beginning of it. But right now, blending in with traffic, staying safe speeds. LAPD, they're tasked with how to bring this to an end safely. Right now, their decision is keep an eye on it. That driver, stolen vehicle, moving kind of slow out there this morning, and unusual driving habits. But right now, it looks like we haven't seen any conflicts, and hopefully it stays that way.
I know you mentioned earlier that police were kind of parallel pursuing him. Do you know if that's still the case, or how far away are officers at the moment?
Well, you know, I haven't seen or heard anything about this, and their plan was really just to give this guy room. That's really what it seemed that they were doing. They're going to keep that helicopter over it. That helicopter definitely still making calls, telling officers where he's at. But as far as actively pursuing, they're going to stay away from that. And I just got a text from a good law enforcement friend that says that he would believe that that person is definitely under the influence of something. So it's something to keep an eye on. He definitely seemed agitated, but again, you just don't know that, you know, the mentality is just, what is this guy thinking, and why is he doing these things? You know, those answers, only he really knows that answer, meaning he, the suspect, not my law enforcement buddy. But, but right now, it's, you know, honestly, I just don't want to see that truck damaged, or that small business, and we don't even know if it's small business, but we just don't want to see that business suffer because of somebody's callous. And I just don't want to see anybody get hurt. And right now, if that person is under the influence, it just makes it even more dangerous, because been driving slowly, but what if his mood changes and then this becomes something entirely different?
Sure, and we don't even know where this person is from, if they were just walking around. This is a crime of opportunity, if they live in the area. Clearly, though, being that he stole this vehicle at a gas station while the person was pumping gas, has no connection to this company.
Copy.
All right, Stu, our coverage will continue, but in the meantime, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
Would it be nearly impossible to bring back some of that video from the spike strip?
I could try to find it.
All right. Right now we have a break. You could go a little wide, pull it up probably. Oh, police are behind him again. Open up. Interesting. They decided to get right behind him again. Yeah. And there's a lot of traffic up ahead. And there's a lot of traffic up ahead. Just getting a little dicey here. Yeah. Okay, I think I might be back on air with you, Tony. They're re-engaging here. You see the LAPD cruisers right behind them. We're on DeSoto, headed northbound up towards Victory Boulevard. And, you know, once the suspect gets through, okay, made a turn, because up ahead there was stopped traffic. Made a turn now. I believe that's going to be on Tavano and not Victory, and headed back to the west. But certainly the suspect has gone around in circles, and LAPD has made a decision now to re-engage, to get right up behind the vehicle. It wouldn't surprise me if they've got units up in front as well, and they're going to try another spike strip. But here's a change in their strategy to try and get this over with. It looks like they were not content to continue to follow just with the helicopter overhead, and now they have a couple of patrol cars behind the suspect. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see exactly what the suspect does now, because we've been, you know, talking about the strategy and what they may be thinking about, backing off and going to tracking because it wasn't much of a danger. But now that they're back re-engaged and right behind him, if the suspect starts driving extremely erratically and starts swerving around traffic, they may back off once again. But right now, it appears the suspect has about the same demeanor. You know, he's stopped right now on Van Owen. We're headed westbound in Canoga Park. And the patrol cars, he's right behind him. Looks like he's looking out the window. You know, it's about 3 or 4 times I've seen him look out and stare down. Not sure exactly what he might be looking for, but, you know, he's been so erratic. He can't sit still. He's bouncing back and forth, gesturing at people he doesn't know, looking up at us in the helicopter, and now looking behind him at the patrol cars. But having the patrol cars right behind him, Tony, hasn't seemed to change his demeanor or the way he's driving, which is kind of good because now they can be right behind him and monitor him, and we're not seeing him trying to take off and get away from those patrol cars. Yeah, and we understand now they're saying it's a DUI, and it doesn't appear to me like he's driving under the influence of alcohol. Yeah, I could be totally wrong on that, but it appears from his demeanor that it's going to be more than just alcohol in this individual's system. He has fairly good control of the vehicle. Like, he can stay in his lane. We don't see him swerving too badly, but, boy, the way he's jumping up and down and can't sit still. Police do say now he's driving under the influence of something. We are stopped now at Canoga Avenue in Woodland Hills, and if we open up a little bit, we'll get an idea what the patrol cars are doing. They're going to open their door. They've got, you know, the bullhorn on there. They're going to try and get his attention, say, hey, come on, just give yourself up. You're not going to get away. If they know who he is, which they may by now, they'll put his name out there to let the suspect know for sure that, you know, they know who he is. And right now we're completely stopped. Canoga and Victory Boulevard, headed eastbound at Canoga Avenue. And we're just going to have to see, or it might be the other way around, and looking out the window south on Canoga at Victory, what the suspect does. But the good news is, Tony, you know, we're in an intersection right now. We've seen pursuits in a lot of cases. When this happens, the suspect go right through a red light, endanger himself and others. This suspect hasn't done anything like that. And I think that's why they went back to this track, or back to the re-engaging with the patrol cars right behind him, because it hasn't changed the way he's driving at all. Well, yeah, they're going to try and communicate with them. They certainly like to talk them out of this and get this over with. And they do open the doors immediately. They stop the vehicle. They hide behind the doors, basically just in case the suspect gets out with a weapon. It allows them to open fire on the suspect if they have to, because it's tough to do if you're sitting down. So they want to be behind the door. They want to be safe, and they want to be in a position where they can protect themselves. And so in most cases, they'll stop the vehicle. They'll open the doors. You got both the driver and a passenger. They'll both get out, more than likely with their guns drawn. They just don't know what they're dealing with at this point in time, but they're very aware of cross-traffic about, you know, what they have to deal with here. They absolutely, positively would not want anything to end in gun battle in a situation like this. We understand they might be doing a spike strip here in a moment. I don't see exactly where it is, but when he's traveling, we've seen in the past, when he's going this slow, it's really hard to get one out. But I think we're going to see it in a moment here. We just heard over the scanner. It might be at this intersection here. So there it is. So they're getting ready to get the spike strip out. We'll see if the suspect sees it. And when the vehicle's traveling that slow, you know, he could sort of prepare for it and get around it. We'll see if this time the suspect is able to. Several times. Trying to get away from it. And, you know, if you're the LAPD officer, it's a tough one, too. You know, you just don't want to run. You just don't want to run out there. Did that get stuck on the fence? They missed it. There you go. They're dragging it back. So he was able to get around that. And, you know, I mean, you've got to be careful, too, if you're the officer. You don't want to get in front of that vehicle. So you've got to try and get out there into the intersection at the right time, toss it out in front of him, and then pull it back real quick. So if he does run over it, it doesn't flatten the tires of the patrol cars right behind them. But, yeah, that's at least the third, if not the fourth time they've tried the spike strip. It's been unsuccessful. This isn't the type of vehicle you could do the pit maneuver on. That just won't happen. If you did pit that trailer, it would just flip over, and boy, it could cause so much injury to anybody in the surrounding area. So this is not a vehicle that they could attempt that with. Everything. Anything. Yeah. Anything you could think of, I think we've seen pursued from, was a tank in San Diego. I've seen a bus being pursued one time. We've had campers that split apart. They're in the middle of a pursuit. And it looks like now, there's no rhyme or reason to this, Tony. I've never been able to figure it out, but they're going back into tracking mode. So I guess they tried to spike strip. It didn't work, so just follow them from the helicopter. So the patrol cars have backed off once again. We're back on Victory Boulevard. Yeah, same exact spot we were when we were talking, 10 minutes ago, Tony. And this is where he got some speed up because there was no traffic around him. Traveling eastbound and coming back up next to Pierce College once again. There's more traffic at the intersection up ahead than we had last time. It's probably getting closer to when most of the classes start, whatever summer classes they have here or activities. But we're right next to Pierce College, and we're back on tracking mode. It's just a helicopter overhead. Yeah. Yeah. Good luck. Yeah, it really appears right from the start we sort of got an idea that was the case. Just by the way, he was so agitated, couldn't sit still, always moving around. I mean, you usually only see that type of activity from someone if they're under the influence of something. And now police have confirmed that. There is a little chatter right now about going back into surveillance, going back into mode right behind him, re-engaging and trying another spike strip. It's on Victory Boulevard, and he's going to stop here. There's some stoplight traffic. It's a little more difficult to do the spike strip in this area where you have long stretches. And I do see they're going to start to re-engage, it looks like. They're pulling up again. They're probably about a half mile away, but it looks like they're speeding up. In a situation like this where you don't have a lot of real major stops or areas where that you could hide for the spike strip, it's kind of difficult to do it. It's going to be easier on some of the, those blocks where you have a lot of things to hide behind, whether it's a vehicle that's parked on the shoulder. You see Victory Boulevard, you really can't park on. You can on some spots, and the speeds will be a little higher on Victory, say, than they would be, on some of the smaller streets we've seen in the industrial area, the commercial area where the suspect was before. But certainly with no traffic around them, not traveling very fast, so we can bring up the real-time speed tracker, probably, 25 miles an hour, so maybe 30 there. But they may re-engage again, Tony. They're talking about it. I saw the patrol car start to pull up, and then I saw them back off. So, these things are so difficult to try and predict. It's nearly impossible. If you think you're going to figure out what's going to happen on a pursuit, we'll think again. It'd be like, winning the lottery. You just never seem to know. And you just never seem to know really how the police are going to approach it either. I mean, depending on the department, depending on, who the supervisor is, depending on how the driver is driving, the type of vehicle he's driving, the conditions, it's a sunny day today, but sometimes they're in rain. Depending on all those factors, so dynamic, it's really difficult to try and predict anything in a situation like this. So we've been trying to piece it together completely. We know at 7:20 this morning there was an accident at the corner of DeSoto and Lassen in Chatsworth. And that accident came back as a hit-and-run crash. And then the pursuit started. We don't know if the suspect may have been driving the vehicle in the initial accident and then stole this vehicle or not. We just haven't been able to really confirm that. That's when the pursuit started. About 20 minutes after the pursuit started, there was another accident at Sherman Way and Corbin. Then the Canoga Park area. We don't think there was a lot of damage in that crash. We saw a little bit of damage. There's another spike strip they're going to try here. You can see the officers trying to get in position. I think they might be a little late, but maybe not. And you can tell when the suspect's driving this slow, he's just coming up on this right now. I don't think they're going to get position in time. No, they have not. They didn't quite make it. When they're driving this slow, the suspect can see them. And it makes it much more difficult. But getting back to after that initial accident, a stolen vehicle pursued. We believe this may be stolen. We don't know for sure. There was another crash. It wasn't a violent crash. There was only a little damage to the front of the vehicle. And that makes sense because the suspect hasn't been driving at a very high rate of speed. I think it's 4 times they've tried a spike strip. They've been on surveillance mode. They re-engaged, went back into a pursuit on the ground. During the whole time, they've had the LAPD helicopter overhead. Slow rate of speed right now on Victory Boulevard. Headed eastbound, stopping from time to time, extremely agitated, and we are hearing now from police. They believe he's driving under the influence of something. Yeah, it's not that easy depending on how fast he's driving and depending on, where they're going to try and set it up. And like I mentioned before, it's a little difficult to find a really good spot. Now, we're coming up on Wilbur, and I believe they're going to try another spike strip right now. But unfortunately, open up wide for a second, if you will. If he stays in that left turn lane, you see the patrol car there in the center of your screen, it's going to be real difficult for them to get into traffic and do the spike strip there without him seeing it. But you can see they're ready. Now, what happened last time in a situation like this, he's in the left turn lane, the suspect is. You see him right there. You can't really see the officers yet. Last time this happened, he did a U-turn. But there's not a lot of room for a U-turn right here. I don't know, pulling that trailer, if he's going to be able to make a U-turn in one turn. So now is the moment of truth. What's the suspect going to do? He's going to continue forward. If he does, they might be able to get him with a spike strip. If not, he tries to turn around. He might get stuck there. I'm not sure he'll be able to make that in just those 2 lanes. So it looks like he's seen the officers. The officer's getting ready to throw out the spike strip. And there he goes. He's going to be able to get in front of him here, though. Oh, not quite. Oh, just missed it. Just missed it. He might try and re-engage it again if he continues there. But, yeah, so close. And now, some more erratic behavior. I guess he's going to go northbound here on Wilbur. So they almost got it there, Tony. And you could tell the LAPD officer's a little hesitant. He really doesn't want to get right in front of this guy, and you can't blame him. Yeah. Not only that, I mean, they don't know. They probably know who this guy is. I don't know for sure. If he's an employee of the company, they know who he is. But if he's not, then they probably don't know who he is. But they've seen our shot. The helicopter's seen this guy. He's erratic, and there's no indication that he doesn't have a gun. I mean, we don't have any indication that he does have one, but he could have. And if you're the officer with a spike strip and you're running out in front of that vehicle, you could be shot at. I mean, that's a possibility. Stranger things have happened. So all of those things are in their mind. It's better if they know who the suspect is. If they can just get some idea, identify the suspect, then they might have a little better gauge of what they're dealing with. But we don't know if they know that or not. I'm assuming if this individual's an employee of the concrete pumping company, Atomic, that they know who he is. That's a blessing. That's a blessing because with that vehicle and that individual being under the influence of something, if he was driving around these corners at 60, 70, somebody get hurt or killed, that could be possible, if not inevitable. So it's a blessing that he's driving at a slow rate of speed because we're really not seeing that, fear factor we get in some of those pursuits. When we look at these things, we're like, oh my goodness, somebody's going to get killed. We don't see that with this one, but they can't just let this go and not follow it. They're back into, it appears, just a tracking mode. Although we're hearing now it's about half a mile up ahead at Wilbur and Sherman Way. they're going to try another spike strip. So hopefully they'll be successful this time. If they can get the tires flat on this vehicle, it's so heavy, it'll go right down to the rim. And if he makes a turn here, see the spike strip they had set up was about, I don't know, 3 blocks north of here. Now that he's made a turn onto Van Owen, that spike strip will not work. So now they're going to put a radio call out and try and set up another spot where they can try it. But if they're successful with it, this vehicle, you know, is so heavy, I think it'll be down on the rim in no time. Hour and a half. Yep. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, hopefully. It seems like it comes and goes with this guy, though. You know, you'll see a pretty erratic behavior, and then you'll see him kind of calm. So, yeah, you know, hopefully whatever he's under the influence of is wearing off a little bit, and he comes to his senses. You know, just a matter of, like, how long could this thing go? I mean, I'm you know, just guessing, but, you know, probably can't get more than, what, about 6 miles a gallon out of that vehicle. It's pretty heavy. It's towing something that's heavy. It probably has a pretty big fuel tank, but they probably talked to the company. They probably know how much fuel's in it. I believe LAPD would have that type of information. They'd want that. And so they may have an idea. Looks like we have another spike strip set up. This is going to be on Reseda Boulevard, I believe, and back at Van Owen. So they'll have another attempt here to try and get a spike strip. You see the suspect. We lost him for a moment there behind the trees. But he's headed on Van Owen towards Reseda Boulevard, and we'll see what happens here in just a moment. At least. Yeah, at least. So, and he stopped. So, you see him there. He just stopped. He's looking ahead. We'll push in to see how erratic this guy really is. If did he move away from the wheel for a moment? We saw him grabbing a bunch of stuff out of the back. And, yeah, Tony looks a little bit more calm than what we saw earlier, that's for sure. But from time to time, he just really starts reaching for things, jumping up and down in his seat, weaving back and forth, putting his hands in front of his face, putting his sunglasses on, taking them off, throwing them. He had a bottle in his hand. It looked like apple juice. He threw that out the window. Open up a bit, Marcel. I think we're coming up towards that spike strip here. If he continues, not too far. I think it's going to be right down at that intersection right there. Yeah, you see the patrol cars. So do they have them on both sides? Yeah, look at that. Turn it down a little bit. We may have a chyron there. They're on both sides. So hopefully they'll get him this time. He won't have much of a choice. It'd be hard to get around both of these with both sides of the street. And turning around with that vehicle is going to be really difficult. If they can get him past this one side street that he could turn on, if he doesn't see them, then he has no choice but to either turn around or continue to the intersection. They might be able to get him this time, but he's pretty erratic, Tony. From time to time, he just starts jumping up and down inside the truck. Yeah. Good word for it. Yeah. He just can't sit still. I mean, that's got to be the drugs, right? I mean, the guy just cannot sit still in that vehicle. We haven't seen a moment that we followed him that he was able to be relaxed. He's always fidgeting, perfect word, jumping around. We're coming up on this intersection, and unless the suspect turns into what's like a gas station, if he doesn't see the patrol cars and continues, they may get him with a spike strip here, but he does have an opportunity. I see. There's some road work up ahead, too, that forces him into one lane. Great catch there, Marcel. You see that road work right there? That's going to force him into one lane. And past the intersection, come to the intersection real quick. You can see where the road work is and even more of it. And he's going to be forced into that lane. I think they're going to get him here unless he sees them and he turns into that gas station. Yeah, they're trying to hide to make sure he can't see them. But if he does notice them and he gets into that lane and he can't get out of it, I think they're going to get him right here with a spike strip this time. Fifth time's a charm. Yep. Yep, both sides of the intersection, they're hiding. They know this guy's MO right now. Each time he comes up towards something like this, he's able to swerve around, and he drives so slow. So if he turns here, he's going to get away from it. If he doesn't turn here, I think they got him. And there you go. It's going to be really difficult for him to get past this. There you go. They're going to get him. They got the right front, and there's another one here, so they're going to throw out another one right now, I would imagine. Oh, it looked like he missed on that one, but I believe they got the right front. I believe they were worried about him coming into oncoming traffic there. And there's more road work up ahead. He's got to get into just the right lane. But we're going to get around to the other side. I'm pretty sure they got that right front tire, and that's going to make a huge difference in this pursuit. Or took the sweatshirt off if he had one on. I'm not certain. Yeah, I'm not certain about that. Let's see if we can get around the other side and see if that tire is flat. It'll take a moment, but once that goes flat, I mentioned this is a heavy vehicle. That tire should come off fairly quickly and be right down to the rim. And then it would be much easier to put out a second spike strip because he just won't be able to maneuver it. And hopefully they got both right front and the right rear, but it didn't look like it to me. But hopefully got that right front, although it appears from this angle still to be inflated. Yeah, hard to tell with the shadow, but I think it. No, I think it is. I think they got it. It looks to me like they got it. On Etiwanda, slowly traveling southbound, stopped for a moment, and what we're going to see also, if that tire is flat, we're going to see some erratic moving in the front of that vehicle. It's just going to start to swerve a little bit. And now right in the center lane there, we're in somewhat of a residential area. That's not good. And maybe now that's a pretty close call there. Now that the spike strip, if it did work, hopefully it doesn't make the suspect more desperate and he just start driving at a higher rate of speed and then have less control of the vehicle. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. It looked like they hit it. Another one set up. Yeah. Oh, of course. They're going to try another one here in a moment. I can't believe they missed the last one. It looks like they got him. Maybe it's just going to take a while for that tire to completely run down. Maybe it's a run flat or something, although you would think it'd be flat by now. They're going to try another one right now, and these are small little streets here in Kittredge. They may be able to get in front of them, force them into an area, and get the spike strip out once again. So I don't know if this was the intersection. I think they talked about this intersection, but I don't see them getting set up in time. If they are hiding around the corner, they might be able to get them. Yeah, they just didn't get there in time. We heard the call go out, and, fortunately, you push in all the way in. Is that tire flat? Yeah, it looks flat to me, Tony. It looks like they got it. So it's going to make it much more difficult for the suspect to continue. That'll be down on the rim pretty soon, and then it'll be hard for him to control the vehicle. They'll try and do another spike strip. That'll also, slow the vehicle, if you will, as far as how fast the suspect will be able to drive. Won't be able to drive as fast. He won't be able to control the vehicle as well, that's for sure, and they may be able to do another spike strip. But you can tell they got him. They're talking about doing more spike strips in some of these intersections. It's right down to the rim almost. He's going to lose control of the vehicle pretty soon. It's going to be real hard to maneuver that truck once it's right down to the rim. Yep. Yeah, and what really worries you, what's our speed here, Marcel? Because if he's getting desperate because it's flat, we're 40 miles an hour, but into oncoming traffic, there's another spike strip they tried to put out. That's the same intersection we were at a moment ago. They got him. Oh, they got the rear this time. So that's a set of doubles, 2 tires back there, and the spike strip got wrapped up in there, but that's good. So you're going to have all the tires on the right side of this vehicle flat, and the suspect, they want to get that spike strip out of there. You saw him running because they don't want to cause flats for other vehicles. But the suspect keeps going around in circles, Tony. I mean, we've been in the West Valley the whole time, but that's the second time he came back to the same intersection. Now, not only is the right front flat, we should see the two tires on the right rear go flat here in a moment as well. Yeah. No, it'll slowly go right down to the rim, though. It just takes time. You know, that tire's just going to come off. If you travel at a higher rate of speed, it'll come off quicker, obviously, with more friction, and sometimes they even catch on fire. We are hearing now they're not certain if that spike strip actually deployed, if it flipped over and got that rear tire. All right, copy. Great. Oh, they got the driver's side rear. Yes. The left rear. Yeah. Copy. Copy. Well, went up over the curb there. Yeah, we know we have a flat on the right front. They got the spike strip on the right front, and now we understand, according to LAPD, they believe it's the left rear that's going to go flat next. That the spike strip did deploy, and they're going to get the left rear to go flat. We don't see an indication of that yet, but it takes a moment or two. And if that becomes the case, it's going to be real difficult for the suspect to maintain control. But with one tire, one tire down to the rim, the right front, and speeds at 50 miles an hour, here on Lindley Avenue in Reseda, it's gotten pretty dangerous. You know, before he was traveling like 9 miles an hour, could see the patrol cars. Now he's going to lose control of this vehicle because of the flat in the right front. And if we loses the left rear, we can push in tight. If that goes flat like we think it's going to be really hard to control this vehicle. It'll be really hard to maintain speed. And it does look like slowly it may be going flat, but unfortunately, Tony, we're seeing higher rates of speed, the kind of thing that really concerns us in pursuits like this because of the danger to the public. So you got a flat tire, maybe two. You've got this big truck pulling a concrete pumper trailer, and you've got speeds almost 60 miles an hour on Lindley Avenue in Reseda, and a suspect who's desperate, he's fidgeting, he's under the influence of something, according to the LAPD, and a more and more dangerous situation, is coming to tuition here as we watch this. Yeah, you don't see it in the shot. The right front for sure is flat. It's right down to the rim. We did hear, though, that they thought on the last spike strip that they threw out that they got the left rear, but I don't really see that the left rear is going flat. So that may not be the case. So they just have the right front from what we can tell at this point in time. Staying in about the same area here on Victory Boulevard in Tarzana. We've been mostly in Tarzana, Canoga Park. It all started up in Chatsworth about 7:20 this morning, and it hasn't been an extremely high-speed pursuit, but the suspect's been very erratic, fidgeting inside there. As we mentioned earlier, they say under the influence of something, and that the suspect just can't sit still. And when he does come to stops, though, if there's a pedestrian out, he seems to try and engage them. He's like, hey, come here, come here. There's going to be another spike strip, we think, right here at this intersection. There you go. You see the patrol car, and you see what they're going to do is try and hide until the last moment. If they can get the suspect to stay in that right lane and continue towards that intersection, he's in the center lane right now, but the right lane would be better because you can't get too far around that. Although he does appear to be a little hesitant, as if, hey, this happened to me last time in a construction zone, and that's where you got me. So it's difficult to get the spike strip out when the suspect's driving this slow. They really don't want to run right in front of him, but they are going to try another attempt here. One worked. The right front tire is flat, and they're hoping to get another one so they can get this pursuit to come to an end. Is he putting his sweater back on? Yeah. Yep, coming up on another intersection. You see the officer trying to get out probably about right now. There he goes. He's running out in front. They really doesn't want to get right in front of the guy. He wants to throw it out there. Nice job. And he hit the same. Oh, get the back. Get the back. Oh, they got the back this time. It looks like that one deployed. It would have been nice if they got both of the front tires. They already had the right front, but they, it appears, once again, after about 7 attempts, 2 have been successful. It looks like that one was successful to get the right rear tire. And, you know, slowly but surely, you mentioned, Irene, the gas mileage. It's hard to say, you know, it's not going to get much, and it's hard to say how much fuel is in it. I have to believe that LAPD's talked to the company. They know about how much, but the gas mileage and the time that this guy can keep going goes way down when you're driving on a rim and not a tire. So if they did get the right rear, hopefully we can get this thing to come to an end without incident. There was one accident during the pursuit. We don't think it was a bad one. A little damage to the front of the truck. We believe that could be stolen. We haven't been able to confirm that. It might have been stolen after a traffic accident at 7:20 this morning up in Chatsworth at DeSoto and Lassen. We heard that was a hit and run, and then we heard a stolen vehicle. We're just trying to put 2 and 2 together, and we're probably coming up with 5 because that's how it happens most of the time. But now we see the suspect just stopping, and, oh boy, making a left turn in front of another vehicle, pushing them in oncoming traffic. And, boy, that's what they don't want to see, right? I mean, it just gets dangerous. Fortunately, he's not traveling at a high rate of speed, but it's certainly erratic, this individual, and under the influence of something. Well, he hasn't been on any freeways as far as we know. There's been one crash that was at Sherman Way and Corbin with this vehicle, not the original hit and run, which may have been with other vehicles. And I did not see that accident occur, but it doesn't appear to me that there's a lot of damage to the truck. You can see a little bit in the front, but you can tell he's having a hard time controlling the vehicle. It's going to get very difficult now that it gets down to the rim. And if the right rear goes as well, and it looks like that spike strip was going to get the right rear, then it's going to be really hard to maneuver this vehicle, because the back will be dragging, and then you have the extra weight of that concrete pumper. And that thing weighs a lot. That's a big engine that pumps concrete. It's got to be a diesel engine with a lot of horsepower, because concrete is heavy. You see those tubes in the back, the tubing in the back of that truck, and the concrete gets pumped through that to get to a back of a house or get to an area where a cement truck can't get. And it's hard to tell yet if the right rear is flat. Sometimes it takes a moment. But we believe, it looked like that last attempt got it. It's just so hard to tell in the shadow there if they got the right rear. Yeah, of the spike strips, we thought 3 of them hit. One definitely did, and then the last one, I thought for sure they got it. But, the way that spike strip is, when they throw it out, it still has to be upright. If it flips over on its side, then it's not going to work. And then also the officer is very aware of the fact that he's got to get it out real quick, because the patrol cars behind it or other vehicles they don't want running over that spike strip. So it's just not easy in any case. We're not hearing about another one set up. I think they believed that they got the right rear. That's what we heard. They believe it was successful, and it may just take a little more time for that to go flat, but we don't see any indication right now that they did get it. We don't see it going flat. And, driving at this slow a pace and not going to ruin the rim. I've seen some pursuits in the past. If the suspect drives at a high rate of speed, that rim will just disintegrate. It'll just go right down to the axle, and then the vehicle can't move at all. But you could probably keep going like this for some time, but you certainly can't go very fast, and then you do lose some of the ability to maneuver the vehicle. What scares you is if he does get the vehicle going at a pretty high rate of speed and then does not have control of it, we could see an accident, and that's just what we don't want to see. $20. Yeah, it's because of the vehicle and the trailer that it's pulling. Even if it was just that truck, they wouldn't use a pit maneuver. The patrol cars behind it just don't have enough weight to try and hit the back of just the truck, not taking into account the trailer itself. And so they probably wouldn't do a pit maneuver on this vehicle regardless. It's just too heavy. It's too low to the ground. Center of gravity is low. But with that trailer behind it, you just can't do a pit maneuver. You can see what would happen. The trailer would flip and spin, and if that comes unhitched from the truck and then hits another vehicle, we just have so much traffic here, it just wouldn't be safe for the surrounding people, for the pedestrians, for the other motorists. So it appears to me, and I'm no expert at this, but it appears to me the pit maneuver is not an option in this one. Uh, 20 to 25 minutes, depending on where it's at. Yeah, didn't get the rear though. No, I don't think that we are. I don't know that we will. I'm sure the LAPD has that. I'm sure they've talked to the company. What we're seeing now, though, with that right front tire down to the rim, it's becoming extremely difficult for the vehicle to get going, right, to really get going at any rate of speed. Once it gets going in speed, it can pick up more and more speed. But the initial start, right off the stop there, is very difficult. Also seeing the suspect engaging anyone who will engage him. See that individual there? He has no idea what's going on. But the suspect wants to talk to everybody. Every time he stops and he sees someone, he tries to engage him. There may be some mental health issues as well in this situation. You see that sometimes that individuals on the street, they just want to talk. They just want to get it out. We do know they believe he's under the influence of something. Can you pull out? Is this the same intersection we were in before? I'm trying to get an idea. No, I thought it might have been in the same parking lot we were at before. But now, in this parking lot, LAPD cruisers are right behind off to the left. They may do another spike strip here. They're going to be very aware of the fact that you have people walking around, so they're going to take it easy. But the suspect is starting to lose control of that vehicle a little bit. It's very hard to make the turns. The tire is almost completely gone. And once you get down to the rim, it'll get more and more difficult to control. This is going to be tough. This is going to be tough, Tony, because if he's going to make a turn here, he's going to have to go through traffic, open up a little bit. If he's going to make the right turn that he's trying to make, he's going to have to go through that traffic, and the vehicle just doesn't start that quickly. So we'll see if we get a break in traffic enough for him to make that maneuver and pull out in front of traffic and then get into the lane that he wants to get into to go basically would be northbound here. But you can tell it becomes a lot more difficult to drive this vehicle now that the right front is flat. It's unfortunate the left front or the left rear didn't hit. We thought it had, but it doesn't appear that spike strip works. So I think they've done 7, and they were successful with 1. But certainly that's they're getting the profits from that now because it's becoming very difficult for the suspect to continue. It looks like. Let's open up a minute, Marcel. I just want to see where the patrol cars are. You saw the LAPD helicopter just fly through. And you see there the patrol cars in a line with 5 of them or so following slowly behind. So they haven't gone, completely to tracking mode like we'd seen before. This is like a partial tracking mode, right? The suspect can barely see these guys. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're in what they call a tracking mode because they're just not letting the suspect see them, giving the suspect maybe some false sense that they're not behind him or they don't know where he is. Because we do see him looking out the door all the time, looking back, engaging people on the shoulder, and just fidgeting, jumping up and down inside there basically. Just can't sit still. You can tell it really appears that he's under the influence of something. But they backed off a bit. Maybe they're content right now with him being just on the rim for him to drive until that vehicle is just not drivable any longer. At some point in time, more than likely the rim will collapse, and once you're down on the axle, then you're not going to drive at all. No, we really don't. We haven't got any information from the LAPD either. Obviously they've got a very good look. It looks like, it wasn't hot enough for him, so he put his sweatshirt back on. We saw the sweatshirt on, then we saw him take the sweatshirt off, and now we see him put the sweatshirt back on. There's another spike strip. Looks like he got around that one, though. It didn't appear to me that they were able to get him with that one. But, when he stays in one certain area, then it's easier to set out these spike strips, right? Because there's, probably 30 or 40 patrol cars all aware this is going on, all in the same area. And they've got the patrol cars with the spike strips in this area for this specific reason right now. So they can throw them out. I'm assuming we're going to see more of that until they get more of the tires flat. And then that will end this. Irene, we saw him throw what appeared to be a jar or a bottle of apple juice out the window. He was drinking something, but no indication as to what might be in there. There was a vest Tony was talking about. We were speculating, if he does work for that company, maybe that vest is, something he puts on when he gets to the job site. That's just pure speculation, though. We have no idea. We did see the vest inside there. We've seen him, with the dark sweater on, then take it off, and now put it back on, and it's gotten warmer. So, you're obviously dealing with an extremely unstable individual here. There's no doubt about that. That's correct. I mean, it's got to hit. We saw it hit the tire. We saw the tire roll over, and it didn't work. It didn't engage properly. So they've got to get it out there, and they've got to get it so the spikes are sticking up in the right way, so it doesn't just roll over it and not puncture the tire. But it's not easy when the suspect's driving at 6 to 7 miles an hour, and he almost comes to a stop at every intersection. If you can imagine if he's doing the speed limit of 45 or 40 or whatever it is in this area, and then they hide and they throw it out real quick. If they could stop traffic behind them so they don't give other people flats, it'd be much easier. But in this situation, open up. Is there another spike strip here? Because a lot of times when we see him stop before an intersection, he believes that there's going to be a spike strip there. He's sort of tried so many times. Now, we don't see them, but you can tell what his strategy is if he has one, and that is, okay, is the door open? Is he going to get out? Let's push on in. It's the first time we've seen the door open, and hopefully he just gets out of the vehicle. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Yeah, he's aware that they're putting spike strips out. There's no doubt about that because he slows down at every intersection. And I don't know if he's traveling this slow because he's having a hard time getting the vehicle moving or if he's just traveling this slow because he wants to do that. But it's going to be very difficult to accelerate when you have one tire down to the rim. And as I mentioned earlier, what happens is there's so much weight in this vehicle that as time goes on, if he continues to drive just a little faster than this, lots of times we'll see the tire will come off completely, then you're down to the rim. The rim sometimes even starts to spark and catches a fire. Usually have to be traveling at a high rate of speed for that to happen. And then eventually that rim just gives way. I mean, you can't drive on the rim forever. It'll snap, it'll crack. And once that happens, the vehicle's pretty much can't be driven. And look at that. You see when he hits the brake? So when things like that happen, it's just a matter of time before that rim's going to give up altogether. What happened? Yeah, you can tell it's also getting much more difficult for this vehicle to continue to move. I want to show you out. It's too far. I won't pull out that far. But if you go about a block and a half away, you've got a half a dozen patrol cars. And I think what they're trying to do is just stop some of the traffic on Ventura Boulevard so people don't drive up next to them. It's inevitable. You can't stop all of it. But you see on the left side of your screen right there are the patrol cars. So they're trying to stop traffic on Ventura going westbound. There's some traffic they can't stop, like from these surface streets or the parking lots onto Ventura Boulevard. But they're trying to keep as many people away from him as possible. And they want to be right behind him if this comes to a stop and he makes a run for it. they'd like to get him into custody. But, you know, obviously it's getting more and more difficult for the suspect to continue down on that one rim at this point in time. And it's inevitable at some point this is going to end. And, you know, we've been watching it now, as you mentioned, for 2 hours. There was one traffic collision, but we don't think anybody's been hurt. And as far as danger to the public, there's another spike strip. And it's hard to say. They may have got that left rear. That would be nice. Yep. Yep. We understand they called good spike. That's what they call it. It's good spike. So they think they got it, but we heard that on the last one too, and they didn't have it. So we're going to have to see. But that one looks successful. I think if they've got the right front and the left rear, this vehicle is going to have a real hard time going anywhere fast. And, you know, it doesn't appear the suspect has any indication he's just going to give himself up. I mean, unless maybe the drugs wear off, if that's what this is all about. But it's going to be tough to keep this going if they did get that left rear tire and then the right front is already down to the rim. But we just hope this ends without incident and nobody gets hurt. As of right now, we don't think anybody's been hurt in this 2-hour-long pursuit, except for the initial accident that we don't know a lot about that happened at 7:20 up at DeSoto and Lassen in Chatsworth. We don't think, or we don't know for sure, but it may not be this was the vehicle involved in that accident. This vehicle may have been stolen. Pure speculation. We're just trying to piece things together. We don't know for sure, but we just know it was a hit-and-run incident, and then we know it was a stolen vehicle. We believed in the pursuit, or one of the vehicles in the accident was a stolen vehicle. So it's hard. LAPD is not really interested in giving us that because they got so much other things to worry about, and you understand that. So we haven't been able to piece it all together, but if they did get the left rear, and I think they did because you see the vehicle swerving a bit, then I think this may be over soon. Yeah. I'm dragging that trailer. Yeah, let's hope not much further, right? That's enough of this. And we just, like I said before, I mean, you follow these things. There's no rhyme and reason to them ever, but you just don't want anyone to get hurt. We're on Ventura Boulevard headed westbound into the Woodland Hills area, coming up on Winnetka. For the most part, the entire time, it started in Chatsworth. It's been in the Woodland Hills, Canoga Park area for the most part. And making a left turn here, I think what we're going to see is it's just going to be extremely difficult to maneuver and to control that truck if we do have the left rear flat. We haven't been able to get to that side and confirm it yet. We're working on that, but there's a lot of other aircrafts up here in the LAPD, and we have to have separation. So sometimes we can't get exactly where we want to get, but you can tell by the way it's sliding there. You see it's kind of sliding? I'm pretty sure that left rear tire is right down to the rim as well. So I really have a feeling they're going to be able to stop this soon, or this vehicle is just not going to be able to continue. And it's really weird how he engages individuals. When he gets next to an individual, he engages, tries to talk to them. And I don't know what these two people are doing right here in front of him. If they really think they're trying to intervene and stop traffic, that's not a good idea. I don't know if that's the case, but look what it did to the suspect. It just made him speed up. Let's push into that and see if they got it. It's really hard to tell. Did they get maybe a tire on the trailer as well? Hopefully they got that left rear. It looks like it might be going down slowly, but it's just so hard to tell. And they may have just got the inner one and not the outer one. I think there's two tires on that double rim there. But you could tell when those individuals tried to stop him, he took off. And now you see somebody next to him. It looks like they're filming him. So I tell you, when these pursuits, yeah, they go on for a while. A lot of people want to get out and get involved, and it's not a good idea. No. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, drugs are psychosis, right? I mean, a lot of times if you have a psychotic individual, they're going to try and start a conversation about nothing. That could be the case, but unfortunately, even though we heard good spike, push into that right rear. I mean, I don't see it flat yet. Maybe it's headed that direction, but once that goes completely flat, if it does seem to be wobbling a bit. So hopefully that's going to be the case. That's really going to deter where the suspect can go. But yeah, Irene, don't want to get involved. You can get arrested for being involved. You get involved in this thing, you try and intervene, you try and stop this. You can get arrested for that. They don't want you anywhere near that. And if you have any sense whatsoever, you're not going to. Is this BMW right here trying to speed up and take more pictures? It almost looks like it. Yeah. Yeah, not recommended. Not smart, but everybody wants to get wants to get the picture. And there he goes. He's going to pull up. He's going to shoot with a phone. And boy, you just never know. I mean, he just may ram that vehicle just out of spite because the guy's doing that. It's not good. Push all the way into the tire. Unfortunately, I don't see the left rear going flat. A little flat, but we don't see it all the way down. So hopefully it's slowly going to go all the way down because that'll really restrict the maneuverability of this vehicle and hopefully stop this pursuit. Open up a little bit now that he's stopped, if you would, Marcel, just to get an idea what's going on. So look at the tow truck, and it looks like, is that a G-Wagon or a Jeep? That's the same two vehicles that were in front of him before. It's a Jeep. And the same tow truck. Remember they tried to stop him a moment ago? So there's a lot of people in here on Ventura Boulevard that are basically engaging this thing. They shouldn't, but they are. And then you see the LAPD cruisers behind him, maybe 100 yards or so now. They've moved up a little bit. So they haven't gone completely away from tracking mode. They're still engaged somewhat, and then they have the helicopter overhead. And you could tell he continues to look back, and we'll just hope that tire in the right rear there, or the left rear there, goes flat soon. $15. Yeah. No, slow rate of speed. He's continuing on. We don't see a flat on that left rear like we thought we would. And if that was the case, I really thought that maybe this would come to an end pretty soon. But with just the right front and driving at this rate of speed, he could probably continue on for a long time. I follow a lot of pursuits when they're on a rim and they're traveling at a high rate of speed. That rim does not hold up for long. But when you're just barely moving like this, you could probably go on way too long. And there comes a BMW again. That's the same knucklehead that was trying to get some pictures. But every time we see people out, this suspect really does try and engage with the individuals. Every time he tries to get some gestures going, tries to talk to whoever is on the shoulder. And in a lot of cases, when we follow these pursuits, and almost all of them, we see the suspects on the phone. This individual hasn't been. We talked about how erratic he's been inside the cab of this truck, looking out, pointing down, gesturing at people, throwing bottles out, grabbing something from the back, looking at the tires, looking back at the police, and not for one moment does he sit still. So he's fidgeting, he's very nervous, he's, obviously, as I mentioned, according to the police, they believe he's under the influence of something. Well, we've seen a couple of close calls. We've seen him go into oncoming traffic, but it's such a low rate of speed. It wasn't like we were, thinking, oh, my goodness, somebody's going to die here. He did make a couple of maneuvers and, pulling that trailer. The trailer went up onto the curb. We know at one point there was an accident during the pursuit at Sherman Way and Corbin. We haven't seen anything that really got our attention like, oh, my goodness, because of the rate of speed hasn't been that high. But that's no indicator that might not happen here sometime soon if this individual gets desperate or more desperate. But it looks like that right rear tire, or I should say the left rear tire, the one on the right side of your screen, I don't know. It doesn't look like it's going flat to me. If it is, it's doing it awful slowly. Yeah, they initially tried several times on Topanga Canyon Boulevard. Those were all unsuccessful. At this point in time, we only believe of the 7 or 8 that they tried, one was successful. And it's not easy for them to deploy it in some situations. The first indication is when they missed it the first time, this guy is aware that they're trying to do it. So every time he comes up on an intersection, he drives slow. When they did it on Topanga Canyon Boulevard, he was able to maneuver around, and Topanga was big enough he could even make a U-turn when he saw they were in front of him. So he saw a lot of activity like that. LAPD has patrol cars in this whole area. We're in Woodland Hills right now on Ventura Boulevard. For the most part, it's all been on the West Valley. And more than likely, they're going to do some more spike strips. But the officers don't want to get right in front of the vehicle. I mean, there's a couple of things they're worried about. He could gun it. He could try and hit the officer. He could just swerve towards the officer and say, I'm going to hit that guy. They don't want an officer to get hurt. Second, we don't know if the suspect's armed. We don't know if he could get out of the vehicle and open fire on the officer. So there's a lot of dynamics here. There's a lot of things going on that you can't predict. And so it's just not as easy as, hey, man, throw that thing out in front of the tire. It just doesn't work that way. You'd like to think it does. And, now there's another factor, and that's that the public are getting involved. They're pulling up trying to engage this guy. And it just makes it harder for law enforcement because they got to worry about the public as well, and now they're getting next to this individual who could be very dangerous. Yep. Here comes a BMW again. Thank you. Yeah, Irene and Tony, we just heard that they're calling out SWAT, so they may bring an armored vehicle out, and they may believe that with the armored vehicle they can get in front of them. Did you just throw something out, or is that a piece of the tire? Look like a piece of tire. You don't see it in the, you don't see it in this shot, but the right front. We went to this side because we thought the left rear was hit with a spike strip, but the right front tire is gone. It's just on the rim. If you're just joining us. But we do understand that SWAT's been called, and they may bring the armored vehicle out to try and stop this. It looks like, though, if the suspect continues with what he's doing right now, he's not a huge threat to people out on the road, and that's good, because a lot of these pursuits we follow are just so dangerous, they scare you. Oh, door's open. Hopefully he gets out here. We've seen that a couple of times. That's the second time, Irene, we've seen him open the door. This continue on. He's just so erratic. There's no way of knowing what's going on inside this guy's head and what he may or may not do. You can see by this shot, we're on Ventura Boulevard, just crossing Shoup and in the Woodland Hills area, but LAPD's backed off again. Like I said, they did call in SWAT, but I don't think that's going to be an immediate thing. I think that's going to take some time before they really get deployed and get out here, and hopefully it'll be over by then. But look at all the tread that's coming off. It's almost gone completely, and then I think even at this speed, eventually that rim is going to collapse. And when it does collapse, it could start a fire. You see the smoke. The cab could start on fire. That'll get them out. Or the rim will collapse, and once that happens, you just can't drive the vehicle at all, and it'll be over. So it is the left rear almost a little flat? It almost appears, the right rear right there, is that one almost a little flat? It almost appears that it is, but it didn't go completely down to the rim. But, you know, hopefully this will just be over soon. We're still on Ventura Boulevard slowly, headed westbound through the Woodland Hills area. I'm going to speed tracker. Yep. Yeah, well, fortunately, he stops at the red lights, so, you know, he doesn't want to kill himself. And now you have the patrol cars right behind him, so, you know, it's been really interesting to watch this pursuit as far as what the police strategy is. 1 minute they're tracking mode, the next minute they're right behind him, the next minute every intersection they're trying to get a spike strip out. Now they're calling out SWAT. Of course, the helicopter's overhead. If he gets low on fuel, they'll call in another one, so they'll definitely keep the helicopter on this individual. Stopping at red lights, and then it's difficult for the vehicle to get going. You know, there's a lot of drag when you don't have a right front tire. So the initial startup of the vehicle. And Marcel, it looks to me like that one's getting a little flat on the right rear as well. So it looks to me, I don't know if to you guys or it's just a shadow, but it appears to me that's getting flat. And if that happens, see, then it's going to be really difficult for the vehicle to move at all, okay, because it's a rear-wheel drive truck. And if you get that rear tire down to the rim and the front tire down to the rim, it's going to be hard to get up any type of speed. It's also going to be hard to control the vehicle. And we're not seeing a very high rate of speed at all anymore, and that may be one of the reasons. Yeah, slowly but surely, it's going to be more and more difficult to drive this vehicle, and it's encouraging that the right rear is going flat as well. That's really going to make it more difficult. Open up for a moment, Marcel. I can't see. Are they still right behind him? Yeah, they're pretty much following right behind. I don't see a spike strip up ahead, another one, but we could get one. And fortunately, there's not a lot of volume right here on Ventura Boulevard headed westbound. There's been a lot of construction on this, so I think a lot of folks avoid it. Not only that, Ventura Boulevard, you know, at some point ends once you hit Valley Circle. And then that'll be, you could get on the freeway at this point in time, but it'd be a surprise, I think, if the suspect did that. But, you know, you never know. You can't get into the mind of these individuals at all. You can't even guess them. And every time you try and guess what they might do, in my experience, you're going to be wrong. But it's good that it's going slow. It's good that they made progress with getting more of the tires flat. And it's good that we don't see really any danger to the public. And as far as we know, no one's been hurt. So that's good as far as pursuits go as well. Push into that tire, Marcel. It looks like it's almost all the way down now onto the rim. So, yeah, it's just a matter of time at this point in time, or a matter of time before this is over. I don't think he's going to be able to continue. Once that goes down to the rim, really going to be difficult to control this truck. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it depends on so many factors, depending on how they cover it. It depends on the agency. It depends on the supervisor who's telling the officers exactly how they're going to proceed. We're seeing them speed up a little bit, and we're going to end up at Valley Circle here in a moment. They don't have any units at Valley Circle. When we see higher speeds, though, like we're seeing here for the moment, that just means more pressure on those tires and the rims, and it could indicate they're not going to be able to control the vehicle. You see some swerving there. Not sure if he's doing it on purpose, but you can see having a very difficult time controlling this truck. Now, this is Valley Circle. If he continues with a right turn there, we'll be going back northbound, so back up into the Woodland Hills area. But we do have all the officers still right behind him at this point in time. And just to give you guys an indication, we have probably another 5 minutes maximum before we're going to have to break for fuel ourselves. And we're hoping he runs out of fuel before we do. $20 minutes, yeah. Other side. Yep. We're going to try and get to the other side, and then we can get a better look at the two tires. That the right front that's down to the rim, and then the other one you can see is about ready to lose the tire completely in the rear as well. And then it's really, 27 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour is fast when you're down to just rims and you can't control the vehicle. There's not a huge amount of traffic on Valley Circle right here. We're right in front of the high school. Fortunately, they're not in session. I don't see a lot of traffic in the area, but you can tell right down to the rim. We had some smoke coming out a moment ago. At the higher speed, you start to see sparking. Sometimes you'll see a fire start. You start to see that rim will just unravel. And like I mentioned earlier, when the rim does get down to the right down to the axle, it's over. You're not going anywhere. But it certainly has taken a long time. And we've got patrol cars, for the most part, still right behind him. It's right in front of the high school here on Valley Circle, headed northbound. But a pretty high rate of speed, considering you're just on a rim there. Oh, the brakes. It's going to break. Yep. When he hits the brakes, one of these times, that rim is going to snap, and then it's over, okay? Because there's so much pressure on that rim. You could see it when he hits the brakes. And, officers right behind him, they realize he's having a hard time maneuvering. He's got you see how the rim is turned there. He's trying to maneuver the vehicle, having a very hard time. And they're just hoping this individual gets out of the vehicle and they can get this over without incident. It's gone on long enough. Nobody's got hurt. Let's just get this individual into custody. The vehicle's having a really hard time accelerating. Once it gets up to 27, 30 miles an hour, it's not too bad. But getting to that speed, you can tell, is very difficult, especially it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle. And once it's all the way down to the rim on the back tire, it's going to be very difficult for it to get going. And a couple more slams on the brakes like that, slamming on the brakes, and that rim could just collapse. It gets down to the axle, and the vehicle's not going anywhere. It certainly is. I mean, it could go, it could go on for another hour. One time I followed a pursuit of a Land Rover that went down to the rim on the 101 North, all the way up into Ventura, and I believe it drove like 100 miles on the rims. So if you don't drive too fast, you can go for a long time, but slamming on the brakes is going to make that rim collapse at some point. We do hope it gets over soon, because our ability to cover it here is going to diminish probably. I don't know, we have 3 or 4 minutes, and then we're close to Van Nuys Airport, so it's easy for us to duck in there and get fuel. We don't have concerns, but once we get down to a certain point, we have to head that direction, and certainly we will. We did hear that they're going to call in SWAT. At this point in time, I don't really know what SWAT is going to do, and if SWAT's going to be activated, like, to get in front of this guy. Maybe they're thinking that SWAT should be available if this turns out to be a standoff of some point. I really don't think that they would put an armored vehicle in front of this vehicle to try and stop it. I've never seen anything like that. But there goes the right rear, and when that tire comes off altogether and they're down to the rim, it's going to really diminish this guy's ability to keep going and to control the vehicle. As I look outside, open up out of your shot a little bit. So we're coming up here, I think maybe on Sherman Way. Is it Sherman Way or Platt, actually, on Valley Circle? It turns into Platt at Victory Boulevard. He's making a stop. There's an intersection here. There's 4 or 5 patrol cars behind him. Looks like he might be trying to make a right turn. And we just don't know if it's making a right turn. He just can't control the vehicle, but it looks like a right turn now. Back to basically the same area where we saw most of this pursuit go. We can't control it. Sounds good. No way. Yep. Hold on a second. We're hearing they might try and pit him. We want to be here for that. Can we go to the light? Are you cool? Or you want to go now? To go a couple minutes. Okay. How are they going to pit this guy? Seriously going to pit? No way. There's no way they're going to pit this. I can't believe that they could pit this. It wouldn't work. Yeah, well, the guy's a rookie. Oh, here we go. Get some speed up. That's going to, he might crash. He might lose control of this vehicle. Are we still streaming, guys? I'm assuming that we are. So there was an officer who was calling for the pit, and then I just couldn't believe that that would be the case, and it's not. The supervisor said, no, you can't pit this guy. But we're seeing that, there you go, lost the tread altogether, down to the rim basically in the back. A lot of weight back there. It's a rear drive vehicle. That is really going to be difficult for him to continue. What's our speed tracker? What's our pace here? Because even at 35 miles an hour, that's pretty fast on the rim. You know, one quick move with the steering wheel with a guy who's really been indecisive and fidgeting and really not in control of himself for the most part. One quick turn, this thing could flip over and you could cause the damage to other vehicles. You could hurt or even kill someone. We're on Victory Boulevard headed eastbound. We've been on Victory Boulevard several times in the Woodland Hills area. This has gone on for over 2.5 hours now. There was one accident involved. We don't think anyone was hurt. And coming to a stop will be interesting because once the vehicle stops, especially if it hits the brakes, you see so much pressure on the front rim, the right front rim that's lost the tire there. And then getting going is going to be difficult. To accelerate is going to be nearly impossible when the back is down to the rim. So a lot of factors going on here. Go ahead. You got it. Great job, Johnny. Very, very, very good job, man. Very good. Really excellent, excellent. Yeah, Marcel, incredible. But for Johnny, that's pretty amazing because he doesn't have that much time covering these pursuits. So that was phenomenal. I wasn't nervous once.
is there any potential reason why he would choose to steal this type of vehicle? I mean, knowing that it would be very hard in a pursuit to maneuver?
I haven't the foggiest idea. I mean, this is just, none of this makes sense. Again, you're dealing with logic, and this gentleman is not dealing with logic, and therein lies the problem.
And this is kind of a reminder for all of us watching, too, when someone pulls up next to you and asks you to roll down the window so they can ask directions, or when you go to the gas station, you think, I can just run in quickly and get something, or leave the keys in the car, or not pay attention. I mean, it really is a reminder to be vigilant in so many different scenarios.
That could not have been stated more clearly, and absolutely right. And again, you get out of your vehicle, you take the keys, you got to pay attention to what's going on around you. You have to look. You have to be observant. We teach that in our classes all the time about just social awareness, being aware of what's around you through our company, International Tactical Training Seminars. We teach people this all the time. And we have a simulator now where we put people into simulated programs, situations, and they really learn. They go, oh, this is unbelievable. I didn't think about this. I didn't think about that. And it's just being socially aware can avoid you becoming a victim.
Right, and even the workers, the construction workers, I mean, they had no reason to have their guard up, potentially, but then you saw the truck barreling through the cones there, putting their lives in danger. So it's really a reminder in every kind of situation, not only for some sort of criminal act, but, cars on the road not paying attention. There are so many different dangers being posed by this situation and similar situations. We've seen so many of them.
Oh, you have. And again, you get to a gas station, you leave, you're going to get fuel in. People sometimes, especially with the remote keys, they'll leave them on the center console. So anybody getting in, even if the vehicle's off, all you have to get in, press that one button to start it.
Just crossed through the intersection. He has been slowing at many of the intersections, following some of the traffic signals and following the law in some ways, going just 9 miles per hour now. We know that front right tire has been punctured by a spike strip. The back left tire has been punctured. It is deflating, as we've been watching this morning. And something just rolled off the truck.
Oh, was that a tire?
It looks like it may have been a tire. Maybe the front right tire.
This is the fastest we've seen him go, I think.
Yeah, it is very close. I wonder if it's that front right tire maybe finally fell off, Scott. We're having a little trouble because SkyCal's not able to get in as close with some of the trees and things onto that right-hand side. But it looks like the left back tire is still intact, as well as the trailer tires. But that front right tire was really getting down and deflated. He's still stopped at the intersection. Police are right behind him.
Right, getting closer still. But then again, we've seen this happen so many times. We see a cyclist there in the crosswalk, not knowing what's going on, and we see them get close. It appears he's stopping, and then he takes off again. A couple times we saw officers actually opening the passenger door, and Scott, you said that might have been to potentially use spike strips again or try to approach in some way, give him commands, but they're reluctant to do that unless he actually starts communicating with them and cooperating and heeding his commands, right?
Yeah, I think that's a rational deduction. The other thing, too, is if you can get a couple more spike strips down, deflate the rest of the tires, it's certainly going to, it's going to lessen the length of this pursuit. But it's such a difficult thing to negotiate because you've got to get up. You have seconds to get out, get up, deploy it, and hopefully the suspect doesn't observe you. If he does, he's going to take off and hurt the officer or, pin him in between the vehicles. So you've got to be really careful how you do that. And you have to be very quick when you execute it.
He's continuing to move along Victory Boulevard. Now, Orange and DeSoto Avenue. Sorry, it keeps changing locations on us. Victoria Boulevard and Independence Avenue going about 25 miles per hour. This pursuit now lasting, we're going to be coming up on 3 hours in just about 10 minutes, which is pretty remarkable that he's just been driving on these surface streets that entire time. And police have not been able to get him to stop at this Oh, he's gone around the block.
Yeah, this is actually the first time we've seen him kind of return to a place where he had been before. This is in the Pierce College area, and we saw him go through this area earlier, but it seemed like he was covering a lot of ground, but only in the valley. He was staying in the San Fernando Valley. Now he's returning there. Officers definitely playing the long game on this, hanging back, not taking a super aggressive approach, and when they were taking a more aggressive approach, he became more aggressive. He became agitated. He hit another car live on our air, rammed that vehicle. Really dangerous situation. So they are hanging back, and I guess, Scott, they're just waiting for the tires to fall off, the wheels to fall apart, and for him to have to come to a stop or run out of fuel.
Well, I don't know if he's going to run out of fuel anytime soon.
Oh my goodness, I don't know if you can hear me at all, but I lost you there for just a moment. You were talking about the types of pursuits and things, and LAPD is not going to just let this one go, if that was the question. They were in tracking mode earlier on, basically, where they just kind of said, we're going to keep the helicopter over it, going to keep an eye on what's going on, and that's when things got really strange. That's when that truck actually rammed into one of the vehicles trying to stop it, and when I say a vehicle, I'm talking about a civilian vehicle, not law enforcement. And when that happened, that's when kind of things changed up a little bit. LAPD saw that this person is a menace, and it doesn't seem to care about property. That officer, his door is open, not because the air conditioning isn't working. It's open because he wants to be able to deploy if that suspect decides to get out and run. But we haven't seen that. That driver basically kind of keeping himself inside that car there. I don't know where you guys are located at exactly, but it is, temperatures are hot out here today. And we were even venturing to say maybe the reason why he's...
Copy. Your side of the closest.
I was actually working with our local station there for just a second, but we were making jokes that maybe he's just trying to stay cool in there. But you know, the reality is, those police cars have got air conditioning as well, and when they take him to the police station, I'm sure there's going to be AC there as well too. So that's probably not the reason.
Driving again, at times.
Drive around out here, just kind of meandering, and visiting the same areas. We're back on the street where we were about an hour and a half ago. And you can see there you go. No tires at all, just on the rims, and this truck continues to drive. Copy all. Copy all, copy all. Yes, sure. Hey, what happened with digital? Did we ever get digital? Well, we are on digital. Gosh, guys, you know, you guys are just seeing picture and no audio. I want to talk to you guys, let you know what's going on out here. Well, that's that pursuit that's been going on through the valley for about 2 hours, maybe more. And you can see that the spike strips have been effective. He's lost 3 of the 6 wheels that are actually tires. The wheels are still there. The tires that were on that truck. In the back there, you've got a dually, so you got 2 tires in the rear, 1 tire up in the front, all completely gone right now, and this truck continues to drive. But he also lost 1 of the tires, or maybe not. Look at that right there. That one's really starting to go low. That's going to start heating up. We're going to start seeing that coming apart as well. Now, this is all happening out here in the valley where, you know, you probably got the banner up there as well. Don't need to call out the streets, but I can tell you, what does LAPD do? I'm sure a lot of you folks, especially on the internet, you all have got ideas and they're like, well, they should do this and why aren't they doing that? You know what? what can you do? That truck, we saw it earlier on, basically just pushed that little Honda around like it was nothing, spun it around actually as it pushed it out of the way, pushed it into another vehicle. That driver actually made their way over to that truck later on for the suspect behind the wheel, but then there wasn't really much you could do. You cannot bring that thing to a stop. You can't do the pit maneuver, but so what they've been doing? Well, they've been using those spike strips. And is it working? Well, people are going to say, well, it's not working, it's still driving. Well, you know what? It is right now. But if they continue to do it, maybe get the other tires in the rear, you know, I'm sure a lot of the folks out there, they all know how these cars drive, these trucks drive. And if they have no drive or there's no traction, that truck's really going to start having a problem moving. Do I want to see this turn into a standoff? I do not. Those are one of the most boring, lame things that we ever see. You know, where the cops can, you know, basically surround it. That guy sits in there until the AC stops working and then, you know, hangs out for gosh knows how long before they actually go in and try to get that guy out. So anyways, but right now what we want to see is this thing come to an end peacefully. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. And when those tires start coming off, that truck is going to become extremely harder to drive and very much less maneuverable. So those are the issues that we got to deal with while we're watching this. Of course, the driver is not the owner of this vehicle. This is a stolen vehicle. That is a very expensive piece of equipment. I had this talk with somebody else earlier on, basically saying, Stu, who cares how much it costs? Well, I'm sure the owner cares how much it costs. And of course, the people that work for that company, if this is the only one they have, there are a lot of folks are not going to be able to go to work later on or during the week. And that, you know, I care. I do. I'm not just playing. I care. So right now, we're going to keep an eye on it, see how they're going to try to bring this to an end. Right now, all that, you know, they're going to need some tires to get that truck back on the road, back to work. But that pumper, that thing weighs a ton. I don't know if any of you folks are out there do any kind of concrete work, but that's what that is. That's a concrete pumper. Those hoses right there, they attach to that thing, and they pour concrete into that bin, and it pumps it out to areas where they cannot just pour at. And this is a very common thing. This is how they build buildings, parking lots, parking garages, pools, things like that. So it is an expensive piece of equipment. That thing is basically on the back is a giant diesel engine on wheels. And you can tell just by how this thing is hooked up, it weighs a ton, maybe more. And as far as what this truck is, that's a Ford 550. So I'm not really super up on that stuff. And you people could say, why don't you Google it? Well, I'm running a camera and talking to y'all. Y'all, you can be the ones that go ahead and Google it for me and let us know. But it is a 550. I'm venturing to say that's probably a full ton or maybe even a 2-ton truck. So that is a lot of vehicle right there, and it is hauling a lot of weight. Again, we're still making our way into the valley area. It started up in the northern part of the northwestern part of the valley. Right now, though, we're kind of going to be, where are we? We're in the Winnetka area, and we've been kind of hanging out over here a lot. So, at any rate, just letting you know what's going on, keeping you guys informed. I wish I could read along, get some ideas on what you guys got going on there. Somebody said something about low levels. I'm not sure if that was for the Fox Live Now, but which is also a great program if you want to tune into that. But right now we're going to stay with this, and we're keeping an eye on it. Dylan, my pilot today, might be getting a little bored, because we've just kind of been slow moving. He's keeping an eye on the other aircraft that are up here and keeping us all safe. As far as on the ground down there, who's keeping the public safe? What about the children? Well, there you go. LAPD is there on scene. They do have a helicopter above it. I venture to say they probably have swapped that out as well, because this has been going for more than 2 hours. It's Police 10, so they have actually swapped it out. A helicopter's got about 2 hours of fuel, and so this has been going for more than 2 hours, and you can see what's going on right there. That driver, agitated, behind the wheel. That's the wrong truck, Stu, and that's the right one. Now he's got those windows up again, but we watched him earlier on eating somebody's lunch. I've ventured to say we didn't steal a car and brought a lunch, so he probably is eating somebody's lunch earlier on, whatever was inside that vehicle, drinking some of those power drinks. And right now, just keeping law enforcement at bay, keeping those silver bracelets off of him right now. But I venture to say that he'll be wearing them soon enough. And I do hope, honestly, that this does not end in any kind of way where that truck is totaled, somebody's life is lost or ruined in any way, shape, or form. And I do care about that suspect as well as LAPD. We do care. They do care about their suspects. And believe it or not, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. Even law enforcement when they're dealing with criminals. Right now, though, this pursuit continuing on, super slow, 13 miles an hour. Maybe I should dial it back from hockey and do more a little bit of golf because of the slow moving. But I got to tell you, when I watch these things, it could change in a second, and we're going to be here when it does. Hopefully, that change is actually going to be that thing coming to a stop, that guy getting out and just walking over to officers and being taken into custody. I'm kind of just trying to find out if I could find my YouTube notification to see if I can follow you guys on the internet there, on the interwebs as it would be, but I cannot because I do not have a link. So let me see if I can find that so I can follow along. Somebody sent me a screenshot of the link, which is nice, but not helpful. Anyways, and when I say it's not even of the link, it's actually of the page. So at any rate, we're going to keep an eye on this. I'd love to read along, see what you guys' questions are. I definitely want to get interactive with you. If you have anything legit or cool to say, I want to know, but I can only do what I can do. Let me see. I'm pretty talented up here. I'm going to run the camera, get onto YouTube, see if I can find Fox 11, and also, oh, here we go. Let me see. Maybe this is it. Oh, we have an ad. That looks interesting. Yeah, I don't know. We want to skip those ads. There we go. I don't think this is it. Oh, it is. Well, there we go. Now, how do I see the comments? I'm trying to get on here so I can read some of the comments, but it's not letting me read the comments, which is very upsetting. I wonder if I can comment. Oh well. Sorry guys, I made an effort. I'm going to try again later on, but it's continuing on out here. You can see that pursuit pretty slow moving as it has been for most of the time. LAPD, they've thrown those spike strips out more than once. They've got 3 of the 6 tires flat. Are they going to be able to get the other 3 flat on the truck, or at least the dually in the rear? Maybe, maybe not. We haven't seen any efforts pretty much since the last spike strip attempt. And right now you can see that vehicle just kind of moving along. I thought they actually had one of the tires on the pumper itself, also on the passenger side, that front one on the passenger side there going flat as well. But it has not come apart. I can tell you that he has 3 tires of his 6 still operational. Somebody might be saying, man, I only got 4. No, you got 2 in the back and 1 in the front. And the driver's side is the only side right there that still actually have tires on those wheels. On the other side, he's running on those rims. Those rims also pretty expensive. Hopefully that company's going to be able to get that stuff replaced quickly, and maybe some folks will help him out. But as it stands right now, this truck just continues to elude officers. The person behind the wheel, not supposed to be there, I venture to say, was a crime of opportunity. As we understand it, they was getting gas somewhere in the valley this morning, and after that tank was full, that gentleman that you see right there behind the wheel jumped in and took off, and it has been ongoing ever since. He seems to have a lot of interaction with a lot of folks out here, meaning folks being the people on the roadway. I was really kind of curious what was going on, because a lot of times, you know, of course, people know what's going on. You know, like you watching right now, and you might be like, oh, Canoga, Strathern, he's coming up on my street. But there's a lot of folks that are out there on the road, standing, pedestrians, and talking to this driver. There's some sort of interaction. Don't know what that interaction is, but he hasn't gotten out of the vehicle. Nobody's gotten in, which is also a huge plus. And the pursuit just continues to move along out here in the Canoga Park area. LAPD, they're tasked with trying to bring this to an end. Some folks might be saying, well, just put the cop car in front of it and block it in and this and that. This thing, you cannot just block it in. It will push through those law enforcement vehicles like nobody's business. And they don't want to see that, and it's not because they can't afford to fix their cars. They just don't want to be in a position where they are putting that suspect in a position where he could hurt himself, or the outcome could be unfavorable for the driver of that stolen vehicle. That's the reason why they don't do anything like that. Also, right now, you can see that this truck's still moving. I've never seen this thing go over 40 miles an hour. I know it can. The driver deciding not to push it that far, that's a huge plus. But right now, what can we do to bring it to an end? I wish I could read your comments, because I'd love to know what you're coming up with, because I'm out. I got nothing. We're just kind of watching it. There's the LAPD helicopter above it. Law enforcement down there all around it. And how to bring this thing to an end? Well, that's for other folks to figure out. We're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to talk about it. Really nice. I just got some information from from somebody who would know down there at the at Fox, saying that they are bringing in some vehicles that might be able to box it in. And if that is the case, this is going to get very interesting very quickly. I can't wait to see how that plays out. But right now, it's just kind of a watch and see, and we're going to keep an eye on it and see where all this goes. Yep. Dylan, if you want to move it around, I mean, honestly, you can do orbits around this thing if you want. I mean, I know there's, yeah, but I'm just saying, I don't want you to get bored either, you know. I don't know. You know those things go freeway speed, so they probably didn't know it was going to go this long. Nobody knew it was going to go this long. Yeah. I wonder what happened. It's kind of odd that he just stopped. I hope this thing doesn't turn into a standoff. They got to bust the window first. No. He's got the window up. They do. They got BB guns and that to break the window, but with that tint, yeah, he's he's very agitated. I don't know what he was like, moving stuff around. Maybe it was his hoodie. Yeah, he took his hoodie off. He's wiping his face on his shirt. And now he's looking around the cab. Now he's wiping his eyes. Somebody's watching and saying, "Yes, Stu, we can see that too." No, I'm telling Dylan, my pilot, because I guess law enforcement is asking. And my hashtag was Sky Snitch, so got to live up to my name. Next time you have concrete needs and you need a concrete pumper, call Atomic. I was going to say, they're in the valley and they've got some good equipment. Reliable. Yep. And I venture to say whoever was driving this and left the keys in it and left that thing running, never going to do that again. He keeps messing with his hoodie. Let's see what the officers are doing. You know, Stu, you've got this thing called a police scanner. What? One minute, copy all. That you hear me puffing you, right? I'm puffing you. Whatever. Kevin, what else have they got going on Topanga? What are they talking about? Call back the PR and make sure he still has eyes on the animal. What animal would they have eyes on? I know they're not talking about this. No, it's not some sort of weird copy. Well, you know, I'm not sure if the spike strips worked or what changed there, but that driver bringing this thing to a stop out here in the Canoga Park area. We're actually at Canoga and Chase. Now, the officers, they've got their guns out. That door hasn't opened up, and they has shown no sign of him getting out of that vehicle. Is there a possibility that that truck can still drive and he can just drive off? There's always that chance. So right now, LAPD working to find a way to block this person in safely, but it is a standoff on Canoga and Chase. I'm Stu up in Skyfox. Back to you guys in the studio. Oh, no problem. Oh, yeah. I'm like a reporting machine. You say talk, I talk. You say stop, I stop. You know I say all this with love. I really do. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not being mean. Oh, they're coming up with the plan. These guys are coming up with the plan. Oh. Okay. Return your cards. He's all right. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I was a not returner for the longest time, and in a previous relationship, I was schooled on how terrible of a person I am that I was not returning it. Oh, here we go. Doors open. That doesn't mean it's over. Hands are out. And he's out. And a little stretch. Okay. They always have the cool shoes. And he's out. And a little stretch. Okay. They always have the cool shoes. And he's out. Yep. Right behind the pole. They always have the cool shoes. And he's out. They have that suspect getting out on his own accord right there, just for no reason. So I wonder if the truck just finally gave up, and that was the decision-making process. But he spent some time there in the cab thinking about it for a couple of minutes, and then the door popped open. You can see it right there. He's on the ground. LAPD officers, they are ready to take him into custody, but they are going to play it very, very safe. They just don't know for a fact if this person is armed or not armed, so they're going to follow their procedures. Right now, though, you can see these officers kind of getting ready to make their move, and then they also have to check that truck. They just don't know. We assume it is just the driver in there, but we pretty much know it is just the driver, but they don't. So right now, that suspect not complying, I would venture to say that that asphalt is pretty hot. Maybe one of the reasons why he's not just kind of laying there. Now he's getting up, but he's got his hands out. You just don't want to see anything unfortunate happen, especially with any kind of quick moves from that suspect that's kept these officers at bay for so long. But right now, the waiting game is almost over, and you can see the officer making that approach. I have a feeling that he is going to give up quite easily. Those cuffs are going to go on, and this coming to an end after probably more than 2 hours of chasing that truck through the valley out here this morning. But again, peacefully, no injuries as we understand it to anybody involved, thank goodness. And that suspect getting into custody, and hopefully that company going to get their truck back and those repairs done very quickly. Copy. Yes. I wanted to talk about shopping carts. I am a Starbucks Reward member. Nice. I spent so much money there. I have, well, I don't know what I got right now. I'm going to look. I had 3,000 stars the other day, and I was like, I should start spending some of these. Yeah, 27. 2,700 stars. 2,764. Starbucks app, that I can get open in a heartbeat and do that no effort. I heard that if you get 1 million stars, you can actually buy one of the Starbucks stores. I don't ever want to get any of my Starbucks baristas in trouble because I'm friends with all of them, but they actually just gave me a cold brew maker the other day. It's probably about a month now. Yeah. No, no breakfast. No breakfast. Well, if we still are on the internets, well, that's not that good. I'd like to have more. Anyways, we're keeping an eye on what's going on out here. You saw it's coming to an end. That suspect just getting out, kind of doing his thing right there. Looks like he's familiar with the process, to say the least, as he's making his way over to the back of that police car, probably air-conditioned, I would venture to say. As far as the truck itself, I wonder if it ran out of fuel. I wonder if it just stopped running. But at any rate, hopefully it is going to be okay. Everybody's going to get their property back, and that truck will be out working again soon. Yeah. What is it, Wednesday? Isn't that meatloaf night? I mean, it's been a minute.